There are moments in life when the people who think they hold all the power make one fatal mistake. They underestimate the person they're trying to bully. I sent my HOA a bill for $22,000. They didn't just refuse to pay it. They laughed at me, mocked me in a group email to the entire neighborhood. What they didn't know was that I had already started the process of legally taking, and I won. Before we go any further, I have to ask, where in the world are you watching this from? Seriously, drop your country in the comments right now. I read every single one, and it always blows my mind how far these stories travel. All right, let's get into it. My name is Justin Vance, and I moved to the Oak Ridge Commons community about 4 years ago. The whole reason I paid a premium for my lot was the lake, not a pond, an actual 3-acre lake sitting right at the back of my property line, glittering in the morning sun like something out of a real estate brochure. And honestly, it lived up to the picture. For the first year, it was perfect. The Oak Ridge HOA managed the lake as a community asset. They maintained the shoreline, controlled who could kayak on it, and collected a monthly amenity fee from every homeowner. Fine, I paid it without complaint. What I didn't fully appreciate at the time was how deeply the HOA board, led by a retired insurance adjuster named Robert Gable, loved reminding everyone that the lake was theirs, not yours, not ours. Theirs, Robert and his 2-person board sent letters about the lake constantly. No fishing after 6 p.m., no dogs within 15 feet of the shoreline. No personal watercraft. If you so much as looked at that lake the wrong way, you'd find a violation notice in your mailbox by Thursday. Still, I kept my head down. I just wanted to enjoy the view. Then, 18 months ago, everything changed. The HOA hired a contractor to install a new drainage pipe along the lake's northern shoreline. My shore, they never notified me. They never asked for access. One morning, I woke up, looked out my back window, and watched a crew of workers driving a small excavator straight through my yard. They tore up 40 feet of sod, cracked a section of my concrete retaining wall, and damaged an underground irrigation system I had installed the previous spring. The damage estimate came to $22,400. I documented everything. Photos, video, contractor, quotes, the works. I submitted a formal claim to the HOA. Within the week, Robert's response arrived in exactly 3 days. It was 2 sentences long. He said the HOA had an implied easement over all properties adjacent to the lake, and that any disruption to my yard was an incidental consequence of necessary maintenance. I reread those 2 sentences about 6 times. Then, I did something Robert never expected. I started researching. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a civil engineer. I know how to read documents, interpret property surveys, and follow a paper trail until it runs dry. So that's exactly what I did. I pulled every recorded document related to Oak Ridge Commons, the original subdivision plat, the CC&Rs, the deed history for the lake parcel itself. I was looking for the easement Robert mentioned. I wanted to understand exactly where it came from. It took me 3 weeks, and what I found stopped me cold. There was no recorded easement, not anywhere. Robert had cited a legal concept that simply did not exist in any document connected to our community. But that wasn't even the most interesting thing I'd found. As I traced the deed history for the lake parcel, the actual land under and around the water, I discovered something that made my hands go numb. Under the legal doctrine of riparian rights, property owners whose land directly borders a body of water hold specific ownership interests in that water and the land immediately adjacent to it. My lot didn't just border the lake. According to the original subdivision survey, my property line extended 12 feet into the lake's basin. 12 feet that the HOA had been treating as their own, charging amenity fees for, controlling access to, and now tearing up without any legal authority over my portion whatsoever. I hired a real estate attorney named Kimberly Vance. She confirmed everything I'd found and then raised me one. She pulled the lake parcel's chain of title, the full recorded ownership history, and discovered that when Oak Ridge Commons was developed in 2003, the developer had intended to deed the lake to the HOA, but due to a clerical error in the county recorder's office, that transfer was never completed. The deed had been prepared. It had never been filed. The lake had no legal owner. Kimberly explained it to me calmly over the phone, but I could hear the controlled excitement in her voice. She said that under our state's adverse possession statutes, a party who openly, continuously, and exclusively uses a piece of property for a statutory period in our state, 10 years can file a legal claim to ownership. The HOA had been using the lake for over 20 years, but their use had never been exclusive. Residents used it too. Their claim was weak. Mine was different. My property physically encompassed a portion of the lake basin. I had a direct chain of adjacency, and now I had a lawyer who knew exactly what to file. The HOA found out what we were doing when Kimberly sent Robert a formal letter, informing him that I would be pursuing a quiet title action to establish legal ownership over the lake parcel. Robert responded by calling an emergency board meeting and sending the nastiest letter I have ever received in my life. He threatened me with 6 simultaneous fines. He claimed I was in violation of the CC&Rs for interfering with community property. He even sent an email to the entire neighborhood accusing me of trying to steal a public resource for personal profit. My neighbor Beatrice called me after she read it. She said, "Justin, half these people are on your side. Robert has written us all up for something ridiculous. We're rooting for you." That meant more than she probably knew. The HOA hired a local attorney. Kimberly had 10 years more experience and a file an inch thick. The county recorder confirmed the failed deed transfer on the record. 2 independent surveyors verified my property boundary extending into the lake basin. The HOA's attorney requested 3 separate continuances trying to find a counterargument. He never found one. The judge ruled in my favor on a Tuesday morning in March. The lake parcel was formally titled in my name, not the HOA's. Mine. I want you to picture Robert Gable's face when that ruling was read. I've replayed it in my mind more times than I care to admit. Here is what happened next. Kimberly helped me draft a formal lake access agreement. Any resident of Oak Ridge Commons who wishes to use the lake kayaking, fishing, swimming, anything is welcome to do so under a reasonable use license. The monthly amenity fee the HOA had been collecting for lake access, it now comes to me. The HOA itself, if they wish to conduct any maintenance or use any portion of the shoreline, must submit a written access request to me at least 30 days in advance. Robert Gable resigned from the board 6 weeks after the ruling. I heard he listed his house shortly after. The new HOA board sent me a handwritten card congratulating me on my win and asking if we could establish a positive working relationship going forward. I called their president the same day. We've had coffee twice. The neighborhood hasn't this calm in years. As for the $22,000, I haven't forgotten. That invoice is still outstanding. But something tells me the conversation about repayment is going to go a little differently now that I'm the one who owns the lake. If you've ever had someone in authority dismiss you like you didn't matter, you know exactly how this felt. And if you're dealing with something like this right now, remember the paper trail doesn't lie. Document everything. Research everything. And never assume the bully actually checked whether they had the right to bully you in the first place. Drop a comment and tell me, did Robert deserve everything that happened to him? I genuinely want to know what you think. So subscribe to HOA Really More.